All right, so chapter 10 in our 6 to 12-year-olds is emotional and social development. We are now in Erikson's fourth stage of industry versus inferiority. Am I right? Identity, intimacy, yeah, fourth stage. So industry is developing a sense of competence at useful skills, so feeling like I'm good at something. And school provides many opportunities for this, right? School shows us, oh, I'm good at math, I'm good at writing, I'm good at spelling, I'm good at art. So going to school allows us to feel more industrious. Inferiority is when we don't have confidence in our ability to do things well, right? I'm not good at this. All kinds of things contribute to feelings of inferiority. And you may feel very industrious in some parts of your life and feel some feelings of inferiority in other parts of your life. So different things that can make us feel inferior, obviously our family environment, right? If our family's telling us we're not good at something, or, oh, you'll never be as good as your brother at basketball or whatever, it's going to make us have some inferiority. Teachers can make us feel inferior, right? By maybe, not supporting us in things, or, straight up telling us like, you'll never be good at math. Why even bother with that? And peers also can contribute to this, right? Peers can make us feel like we're not as good as they are. So part of this is just, how we're raised. Another part of it is that some kids just compare themselves to other kids more than others, right? So there may be a kid who, sees their neighbor gets, an A and they got a B, and they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe they got an A and I got a B. I'm no good, right? I'm not as smart as they are, and it makes them feel real bad about themselves. And then there's the kids who, their neighbor gets an A and they get a B, and they're like super happy. They're like, yay, a B. Like, I didn't even think I would do that well. And they're not going to compare themselves as much to other kids. And a lot of that just has to do with personality. So remember, Erikson is not a this or that. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? We're being pulled kind of in both directions. Some kids are going to feel a lot more industrious. Some kids are going to feel a lot more inferiority type issues. But they're both going to kind of be, balancing between these two things at this age. So our self-concept's going to be more balanced at this age. We're not going to have those kind of like, I'm a boy, I like rocks, I have a sister. They're going to start making more social comparisons, right? I'm better than Jack at basketball, but I'm not as good as, Wong at, art. They are going to start to develop their ideal and their real self, right? Their ideal self of who they wish they could be or who they want to be, and then they'll compare that to their real self. Now, real self doesn't actually mean like for real. It's how you see yourself as real. And we all know we don't tend to see ourselves exactly how we actually are. So the goal, when we have ideal and real selves, the goal is to try and like work so that those two things align, so that my real self is my ideal self. But if your ideal self is too far away from your real self, you might start to have some self-confidence issues. They will start to kind of reference social groups more often, especially when talking about themselves. And we do see some cultural variations as far as how children view themselves, right? In cultures where academics is very important, they're going to have their self-concept based on their academics. In cultures where, maybe, sports are more important, they're going to have their self-concept more built up around that. So self-esteem is going to be developing, around this time. Like every 2-year-old has super high self-esteem, right? Like they're awesome. They're going to strut through the house naked. They don't care. Between 6 and 12, we start to see kind of self-esteem building up. So when we're at this age, we have this kind of general level of self-esteem, which is what we usually measure. And we just say, high self-esteem, low self-esteem. But it's made up of all of these other things, right? It's made up of academic competence at this age, social competence, physical and athletic competence, and physical appearance. And then academic competence is all of your school subjects. Social competence is parents and peers. Athletic competence, games, sports, things like that. And then obviously physical appearance. Now, most people have an average level of self-esteem, right? And that's usually like, I'm good at some of these things. I'm pretty good here. I'm good a little bit here. Not so good here. I'm okay looking. I'm going to have a regular level of self-esteem. Now, physical appearance, we have zero control. We have zero control over, right? I mean, it's just, how the genes aligned, which also plays a part in this to some extent and this to some extent. But, if you're high across the board, right? If you're really good at school, you have high grades, if you have a lot of friends and, your parents are pretty cool and you're good at sports and you're good looking, you're going to have super high self-esteem, right? Because life freaking rocks for you, right? School rocks, friends rock, parents rock, I'm good at sports, and I look good. Damn, right? I'm going to have pretty high self-esteem and like myself a lot. But if I'm not doing good at school, if I don't have a lot of friends, if my parents aren't that great, if I'm not good at sports, and I'm kind of unfortunate looking, I'm going to have pretty low self-esteem. But we can kind of help kids raise their self-esteem by kind of working with these things, right? By helping them learn how to, have better relationships with peers, helping the family, work better together, tutoring for academic issues, if they need help with, learning how to be better at sports. Not a lot we can do here, but, there's things we can do to raise self-esteem in kids. So as far as our, moral views go, we do seem to have more of a flexible moral value type stuff going on as we move into closer to 12. We start to learn that lying's not always bad and the truth isn't always good, right? If, your mom worked really hard on a birthday cake for you, she's been working for 2 days straight to make you a birthday cake, and then you go to take a bite of it and it does not taste good, maybe it's okay to lie and say, you know what, Mom, it's really good. Right? Yeah, yes, that's a lie, but it's a lie to not hurt your mom's feelings, right? And that the truth is not always the best thing to say. Right? Your friend picks out a wedding dress and she loves it. It's the most beautiful thing she's ever seen. And she's just like, oh my God, I love this dress. Isn't it so beautiful? And you think it's god-awful ugly. It's saying to her, oh God, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. How is that helpful, right? That's not good. The truth is not always the best thing to say at times. And they're starting to understand that, right? They're starting to get that there is gray areas and times when maybe truthfulness isn't the best thing and maybe lying isn't the worst thing. So they also start to clarify the link between a moral imperative and a social convention. Remember, a moral imperative is something that we kind of all believe in, right? Don't murder, don't take things that aren't yours. And social conventions are things that we as a society have decided is right and wrong. They tend to have more respect for social conventions that seem to serve a purpose, right? That seem to make it so that people get along or people don't get hurt. They also start to consider the intentions behind actions a lot more, right? They're not just looking at the consequences of the actions. They're now looking at why was the action done. If it was done in malice, it's bad. If it was done on an accident, not so bad. They're going to start forming more peer groups and friend groups at this time. They're mostly formed by proximity and similarity at this age. So proximity, who do I live around? Who's my next door neighbor? Who's in my neighborhood? Who do I go to school with? And then once I have that, we kind of have those kids to pick from, we then subset our groups by similarity. Who likes the same music as me? Who does the same sports as me? Things like that. So as they start to form their peer groups, their behavior, the way they talk, the way they dress, all tends to kind of meld together a little bit more. And then we also will start to see, as we move into that kind of 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, we start to see more of that relational aggression, right? Being mean just to be mean. And we also start to see some exclusionary type of behaviors. We do tend to see that more with females. Female groups tend to not let new group members in as easily as boy group members do, right? If you're a new kid at school and you're a girl, it's harder to kind of find a new group to kind of go into than if you're a boy. So you do see more of those exclusionary practices with the girls. Peer acceptance, we kind of look at who are the kids who are popular, who are the kids that are rejected, so nobody likes them. Who are the controversial kids? Who are the kids that some people think are popular and some people think are gross? And who are the neglected kids? Those are the ones who kind of no one even knows that they exist. So the popular kids are usually popular because they're pro-social or popular because they're antisocial. So the pro-social popular kids are those ones who everybody likes, and they're kind of like friends with everybody, right? They're friends with the quote-unquote cool kids and not so cool kids, the nerds, the loners, whatever. They're fun and they're nice with everyone, so everyone likes them. So they're popular that way. The antisocial popular kids are the ones who are popular, but no one actually really likes them. But when you ask who's popular, they all say that person, right? So the stuck-up, snobby, right, we're the coolest kids around, you're not good enough to hang out with us type of popular. That's the popular antisocial kids. The rejected kids, the ones that nobody likes, are usually rejected because they're aggressive type kids like bullies, or they're rejected because they're like withdrawn and they're more likely to be like the victims of the bullies, and people don't like kind of either one of them. Like I said, the controversial kids are, some say popular, some say rejected. And then we have these neglected kids that no one really thinks about. So how we kind of place kids in these categories when we're doing research is we just ask the kids, right? We say, write down the names of the people who are popular in school. Write down the names of the people that you don't really like. And then we look and see, right? The popular kids, almost everybody writes down as popular. The rejected kids, almost everybody writes down as we don't like them. The controversial kids are, about half and half. Some kids write down we like them, some kids write down we don't like them. And the neglected kids are the kids that no one writes down at all. Their names never show up. We call those the neglected kids. So as we move from middle school to high school, the popular kids tend to stay popular. The rejected kids tend to stay rejected. The controversial kids can stay controversial, but they also can either switch over to being popular or switch over to being rejected, depending on the situation. The neglected kids do have a chance to kind of move up into another category if they're, when they change schools, when they go from maybe middle to high school, or if they, move and go to a different area. And I guarantee you, go and look in your high school yearbook. There'll be a kid in there and you'll not even remember who that person is. Like, who is that? That person went to school with me? That was the neglected kid. That was a kid that really no one kind of knew about. Sadly. All right, so bullies at this age, at our 6 to 12-year-old age, tend to mostly be boys. Now, bullies will be girls as well, but on our 6 to 12-year-old age, they tend more likely to be boys. They tend to be physically aggressive and relationally aggressive, right? I'm being mean to you for a reason. Sometimes they're high status and powerful, right? Kids kind of look up to them in a way. And at this age, a lot of times they can be popular, although most will become disliked eventually. When the bully is popular, it's really hard to get them to stop being a bully, because why should I? Right? I'm getting accolades for doing this. I'm popular from doing this. Why should I bother stopping? There's no reason. There's no upside to them stopping being a bully. The victims at this age and a lot of other ages tend to be passive when active behavior is expected, right? Bullies look for the weak sheep, right? They know that they need to go after the kid who isn't going to stand back up to them. So, when they go up to a kid and say, hey, kid, what's up? If the kid, goes back to them and says, I don't know, what's up with you? And kind of stands up, then that first altercation, the bully will usually back up. If the kid says, I don't know what's going on, then the bully says, okay, I can go after this kid, right? They can kind of sense the weakness. They tend to give into demands, right? Give me your money, do this, do that. They do it instead of saying no. They lack defenders. They don't have other kids sticking up for them. They tend to have more of an inhibited temperament, right? The shy kid, the quiet kid, the introverted kid is more likely to be a victim of bullying. Kids who are small, kids that are disabled in any way are more likely to be victims. And kids that are overprotected by their parents that didn't let them kind of go out and experience the world and learn how to deal with this stuff, are more likely to become victims of bullies later on in life. All right, let's do gender typing in our next segment.